And so we got Jonathan on. So most of y'all don't know Jonathan. So let me kind of set this up real quick. So Jonathan, so it's going to say Chuck on his screen because he's part of Chuck Knox team and he's sitting actually in Chuck's office. They're actually dialing right now. So I asked Jonathan to be interrupted during his dialing session. But I was talking to Chuck last week, and Chuck was like, "Hey, Jonathan has done over $17,000 his very first month." So, Jonathan, this is your official first month selling, correct? Your first full month selling with
Correct.
us.
Correct. Yeah, my first month was March.
Your first month, so that is so official first month. And do you know? I don't even know. I haven't looked at. I didn't pull the final numbers. Do you know what your final submission numbers was for the month?
Yeah, so I submitted 17,000, I believe, 400, and I was paid out 8,500.
So I mean, you just started going. You've already been paid 8,000 in paid production business, and you've written over 17. It's your first full month with us. How old are you?
I just turned 21 in February.
He's a legal drinker officially as of February. So I was like, Chuck was sitting in there and he was telling me about it. I was like, I got to get Jonathan on the call for a second. I was like, I wanted to talk to you for just a couple minutes because one of the things, so like, listen, man, we got a lot of people who go out and sell, whether it's full time, part time, once in a great while. It's all great. One of the things I was like, hey, what is it? I want to. Jonathan, let me give you a tip. Okay, so it's me and you talking, right? I'm gonna give you a tip. As you get older, you get more ignorant because you stop listening to people. Don't get ignorant and stop listening. Keep learning from people because the problem is that you start feeling like you know everything because you've been through years of your life. The reason why you've done so well is because you are just totally a blank slate who Chuck is telling what to do and you're just following the directions. Like, I don't even know if I asked you, like I can go like, I bet you I could ask you, do you know what type of leads you dial on a weekly basis? My guess is you don't know. I bet you don't even know, do you?
No.
You just dial, right?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. Like every single Monday, we're here at 9 in the morning, and Chuck, Jonathan, you're here. I was like, okay, and I started dialing.
So Monday mornings, 9 a.m., you start dialing.
Correct.
Okay, and you book appointments until you get on a call, but then you start booking some more. What's the
Correct.
goal? What's the goal?
So
What does Chuck tell you to
Chuck,
dial for weekly?
Chuck and the team, he gives us a piece like I don't even count the pieces of paper. We dial until we run out of leads, and if we need more leads, we say Chuck, we need more appointments. So he just gets us more leads, and we just dial. Usually anywhere from 10 to 15 appointments every single week is what we try to hit every week.
10 to 15 appointments every single week. How long, like if you had to guess, right? And I know you don't probably track it, but if you had to guess, how many hours you dialing on a Monday?
Uh, Probably no more than 3 hours, really 3, 4 hours. We go get lunch, and then if we need to dial more, we come back, dial another hour or two, and we're done for Monday.
So that's it. And you're booking 10 to 15 appointments every single Monday.
Correct. Yes, face to face.
Face to face. So you're face to face. You're booking 10. Because I could feel like Chuck smiling and laughing because it's like you don't even know. Like I'm sitting there. I'm going, man. If you're listening to this and you're listening to Jonathan right now, and you go like, man, he's just a freak of nature. Well, maybe he is. I mean, I don't know, right? But he's only been in this business 1 month. So it's not like he's been like in this business seasoned veteran for 2 or 3 years. He's been in 1 month and like, what he did prior to starting to run appointments. Jonathan, when you were getting your pre-licensing course, right? What were you doing on Mondays?
I was still coming to the office and listening to them dials. So Daniel was the one that brought me on, Daniel and Mike. And like Jonathan, come over on Mondays, listen to us dial. And that's what I did. I just literally memorized it. We used to have a script from the Equus system. And I just, before even starting, I literally memorized it in my head, what I had to say. And they just taught me like tweak this, talk a little bit slower, and just really repetition, every Monday just coming out.
So it's like, okay, so think about this. I mean, I'm sitting there going like Chuck and I talk about this all the time, and Chuck asks me questions, and he'll be in my office, and we'll be sitting there talking, and he'll go like, "What do you find out that some of the problems are in people in this business?" I was like, "What Jonathan is doing is exactly what people's problem is. They think he's being like he's like, oh, I just sat and listened to him dial. Well, they think you got to be like super sophisticated." They got to know everything about leads, Jonathan. You have no idea. Matter of fact, let me give you a tip. Don't ever learn anything about leads. Don't learn anything, because you convolute your approach the more you start getting too in depth with it. Right. So be simple. Right. So you come into, you were in your pre-license class, your buddy who was starting to make money, right? Like Big Mike over there making money. Then you had Danny comes in and starts making money. Shout out to Danny, by the way. I heard he just bought, I don't even know. I think Danny's like 10 years old, just bought his first car. And went to the dealership, bought his first car. So, and then Danny's like, hey, come sit here and just listen to us dial. You start listening to them dial, you memorize it. Like, you don't come up with your own dial script. You just memorize it. And then you start dialing, you're booking 10 to 15 appointments every single week in about 3 or 4 hours on a Monday, right?
Correct.
And then you're going into people's houses, right? And then when you go into people's houses, do you do anything super sophisticated, or did Chuck be like, hey, he was just like, just start talking about this stuff?
No, so every single Monday, like most Monday nights, we come out and we ask questions to Chuck. Like, I ask him almost every single Monday, what do you do in the house? And he literally shows me step by step, like I'm his client. And I just try to mimic Chuck, like, and how Dave and Chuck say, paint a picture.
Hold on, just a second. We got to clarify something. So you saying every Monday, Chuck or David are sitting in their office and they say, hey, you can come just ask us questions and we'll answer anything you want us to answer about sales?
Correct. Yes.
That's strange how that concept works. Like, you can show up somewhere and somebody will answer questions for you that on how they sell, right?
Right.
And that weird. So keep going. Tell me more.
Yeah, so every single Monday night we come out to the office, me, Daniel, Mike, and Donovan. We come out and I literally say, Chuck, I want to be just like you, because I know the numbers Chuck puts on every single week. So I ask him, I want to be your client. And he asked me the question. He goes through needs analysis, finds out my why. And I literally just try to be like Chuck. Like, everything Chuck would do in an appointment, that's how I want to be. Like, I don't want to create nothing different. I just want to follow how Chuck does and see how it works. And I think it's been doing pretty well.
You need to lift more weights if you want to be like Chuck. He's a little bigger than you. But and shave your head. But I'd just stay how you're looking. You look fine. Okay, so they let you come into the office, you ask a bunch of questions, they tell you, they go through this. So, hey, let me ask you a question, Jonathan. Is anybody allowed to show up there that's anywhere in the world if they want to show up at that office and ask questions?
They don't care. Anyone. They even tell us, bring a friend, tell a friend to bring a friend. Anyone can come by on Monday nights and knock off any piece of information they have in their head.
So I don't want to be mean, Jonathan. That's, you start getting mean when you start asking stuff, but like, you go, so how many, like, other than you guys, like, so you and the crew, right? I call y'all the crew because you guys are all going out and selling. Matter of fact, you guys like travel up to Orlando and go sell together sometimes, and y'all like rent an Airbnb and do your thing, right? Other than y'all crew, how many people actually repeatedly show up every single Monday to that office and ask questions?
So we got Daniel's brother to come out on a couple of Mondays.
No, I mean, like, consistently, other than you guys, how many people do you see every Monday? The same people?
Oh, just us, really. No one else comes out.
It's weird how you guys are all selling a lot and you guys show up every single Monday.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you guys have issue paid a ton of volume. Like Mike actually beat you this month in sales. Yeah, and I don't know if Danny did. I don't think Danny did this month, which maybe means we gave him a watch a little too early, but whatever. People learn. But so you guys are every single Monday show up. I I'm just listen, man, I'm 43 years old, right? Like, this is my theory on business and on making money, Jonathan. I just go, like, I don't care what I got to do. I just want to be successful doing it. So if, like, Chuck says, hey, Jonathan, show up every Monday, you can ask him as many questions as you want. I'm showing up every Monday until my sales are perfect. And then I'm going to keep showing up Monday, but I'm going to bring about 30 people with me so that they can be told, like, there's that people believe in people who believe in people, right? So like if I show up and I start asking questions, then a bunch of them will show up and ask questions too. All of a sudden my team's huge, and we're all of a sudden we're selling a ton of volume. These insurance carriers are paying me big bonuses. I mean, I think that's how the world should work. Does that make sense?
Right.
Does that make sense to you?
No, it does. It does 100%.
So
Like
I'm
Chuck tells us, I always see Chuck going to Orlando, and that's where I find magic. I went to
Bro,
Orlando to
you
stay a
you
week
don't
with,
understand, dude. Chuck's the only person who shows up in my office like every week. Like
yeah,
I literally, you could walk in my door right now. I'm sitting in my office every single week. I sit here, and by the way, I show up to my office every single day. I work, like, and then the only requirement is if Chuck comes in, I tell him, I say, hey, listen, you're going to come in and ask questions. We're going to sit down. We're going to mic up. We're going to record it so that I could cut pieces of it, because there's information. Like Chuck will ask me questions about things that I haven't thought about in 10 years, but he'll ask me. And I was just like, hey, I want to record it so that I have it on recording so I can clip it and then share it if I need to. But you came into my office too.
right. So yeah, so Chuck told us I have a ton of leads in Orlando. So me and Michael went to stay a week, and I ended up staying 3 weeks in Orlando because of how good. No, I'm serious.
He
I stayed up
stays 3 weeks. How good it is.
yeah, 3 weeks in
Stop
Orlando
telling
by
people
myself.
Orlando's good to sell, Jonathan. They're all going to show up here now. I can see Chuck in the other room pulling. He don't have hair on his head. He shaves it. He's pulling out his beard right now because you're telling people Orlando's a good place to sell. But go ahead, keep going.
But yeah, so I ended up staying 3 weeks, and I fell in love. That's why I went into your office, asked you a couple of questions, and I'll be going to Orlando soon, and I'll be trying to beat this month, last month.
And listen, bro, I mean, 17 plus $1,000 your first month. I mean, I think you sold more than David Schneider sold this month, which is usually a pretty hard thing to do. So, I mean, listen, the only next step, Jonathan, is to beat Chuck Knox. That's the next step, to beat Chuck. You look like you got the other boys all beaten now, so you got to go beat Chuck as well, right?
Right, 100%.
So, okay. So one last question. So if there was something, so what do you feel like, and listen, this is loaded because you're brand new, right? But if there was something like you were brand new, like there was something that made you feel a little bit more comfortable about the process or what you're supposed to be doing, what is something that Chuck really taught you, like whether it was in home, whether it was on the phone, any specific piece of information that you like key in on and you focus on now to make yourself better, like in the home or on the phone, that he taught you or anybody taught you from that office over the last month or two?
Yeah, so just really consistency, they tell me, and not be shy. Like, I'm not a shy person. So I ask anything that comes to the top of my head, like that I want to learn. So just ask a lot of questions, ask the right questions. Don't try to change up the things. Just follow whatever the correct people are doing. Like Chuck, like I said, I want to be like him. Just follow and mimic what he does. And it's impossible to fail with a lot of repetition and consistency.
I mean, Chuck writes like $40,000 every single month, dude. So I mean, it's if you just follow in his footsteps on that, maybe one day you'll write. Maybe one day you'll live up and be able to fill his shoes. But I mean,
Right,
hey,
that's the
listen,
goal.
those are big shoes to fill, man. So I mean,
Yeah.
no pressure, no pressure. Well, dude, hey, congratulations. Let me give you a tip though. Just because you're on this call doesn't mean you've done an explicit word worth of stuff. That means you still got to keep working. I love to have you on the call, but it's like your boy Danny. I gave him something. Now he didn't do as much as volume as you last month. And then I'm never going to give him anything again because he's now fallen off the bus. Even, no offense towards Danny. I love him. He's a nice guy, but just because you get on a call like this doesn't mean you've done enough yet. So keep pushing. I mean, you're 21 years old, man. I'll tell you, there's a million people that wish they were in a position of you where you go out and write $17,000, pay out $8,000 your first month at 21 years old. That's a ton of money. But there is a ton more. And I would recommend, let me give you one more tip. Okay. So Excel was just on the call. They were talking about pre-licensing. Your job now is to go hire a ton of people who look just like you, get them into the business and get them going, but don't try to direct them on what to do. Simply tell them to show up at the office every week, listen to dials, and then show up and ask Chuck a ton of questions every Monday night. By the way, if you're anywhere in the United States, I would recommend you fly into Fort Lauderdale and ask Chuck a ton of questions too. I'm pretty sure their doors are open. It's a general door opening session every Monday night. Matter of fact, I've been down there and answered questions as well. And so, so this is a free for all. Our job is to help you become successful. So continue to focus on being successful. Don't get too smart. Anytime you want to come to Orlando, you can come to the PSI Group's office. We will answer questions as much as you possibly want to ask. Matter of fact, we will ask them until our ears are bleeding if we have to. We want you to be successful. So open door policy everywhere. Ask questions. Jonathan, congratulations, man. Thanks a bunch for getting on the call. We appreciate you.